India is a beautiful country with amazing food, great culture, and amazing holiday destinations. In today's episode, I'm going to share a different story from India. I met a friend couple of years ago from India in a bus stop, and we were discussing about some amazing things about India, and he shared me an amazing horror story. In today's episode, I'll be sharing you story that he told me a couple of years ago. I hope you enjoy it. It was a dark and stormy night in a small village in a southern part of India. The monsoon rains had been particularly heavy that year, and the villagers were on edge. There were rumors of strange happening in the nearby forest, and some said that evil spirits had been awakened by the downpour. Nisha had heard these stories, but she didn't believe in such superstitions. She was a rational person, a nurse who had come to the village to work at a small clinic there. She had always been interested in the supernatural, though, and the tales of the forest intrigued her. She decided to investigate. One night, when the storm had eased up a bit, Nisha set out into the forest alone, which was not a good idea. She had a flashlight and a small knife for protection, but she didn't expect to need them. She was just going for a walk after all. The forest was dark and silent, except for the occasional sound of raindrops hitting leaves. Nisha walked for a while, enjoying the solitude and the fresh air. But then she heard a strange noise, like something moving in the bush. She shone her flashlight in the direction of the sound, but saw nothing. Nisha started to feel uneasy, which was somehow natural. She wondered if she had made a mistake coming out here alone. But she didn't want to turn back yet. She pressed on, hoping to discover something interesting. That's when she saw it. A figure in the mist emerged from the trees ahead of her. It was humanoid, but not quite human. Its limbs were elongated and its skin was pale and translucent. It seemed to be gliding towards her, its eyes fixed on her with an intense gaze. Nisha froze. She had never seen anything like this before. She wondered if it was a hallucination brought on by the stress of the storm and her own curiosity. But as the figure drew closer, she realized it was all too real. Suddenly, it lunged at her. Nisha screamed and brandished her knife, but it was useless. The figure was too fast and way too powerful. It knocked the knife out of her hand and grabbed her by the throat. Nisha struggled to breathe as the figure lifted her off the ground. It spoke to her in a language she didn't understand. Its voice was cold and rasping, like the wind through dead leaves. Nisha closed her eyes, expecting the worst, but then something unexpected happened. The figure released her and vanished into the mist. Nisha fell to the ground, gasping for air. She stumbled back to the village, drenched and traumatized. She told no one what had happened, afraid they would think she was insane. But from that day on, she avoided the forest and stayed close to the safety of the village. Years went by and Nisha grew old. She never forgot that night in the forest, and she never returned to the wilderness again. But on her deathbed, she whispered a warning to her grandchildren. Be careful, she said. The forest is not what it seems. There are things out there that we cannot understand, and they are watching us. Thank you for listening to the whole story. I'm very grateful to my Indian friend who shared this amazing story with me so that I can share it with you guys, and subscribe for daily dose of horror story.